right, guys, on the table you see the Glock 43X. Now, I've actually had this gun for several weeks, and I've actually shot it already. You can see it's I don't know if you can see that on camera, but it's pretty dirty. I haven't actually cleaned it. As a matter of fact, I actually got this gun on a trade. I wound up trading my Walther PPS. I didn't really care for it that much. You know, I was a little unsure if I wanted to get the red dot on there, and ultimately, you know, it just wasn't for me. And it doesn't mean it's a bad gun, but it just doesn't connect with me. So as a result, it went. And I wound up trading this. I got a couple of dollars back for it, and wound up getting the 43X, which was barely fired. As a matter of fact, when I got the gun, and I don't know if you can see it in the camera, and there goes the stupid guide rod, which I'll talk about first probably. But you can't really see it because there's a lot of, like, you know, stuff in there. But you can almost make out that little copper grease that that Glock has a tendency to use on these guns. And, you know, it wasn't barely used. I don't even think the guy shot it, to be honest with you. So I felt it was a good pickup. Very happy I did it because it was just really good. Now, in regards to this guide rod, let's just start with the guide rod. I have to say that with this 43X and that 48 that's over there right now that you can't see, this guide rod to me is a pain in the ass. And I'm going to say why that is. Every single time I field strip these guns, either clean them, check them, whatever I'm doing with them, the one thing I notice is that this guide rod immediately loses its spring tension. It just loses its spring tension and pops right out. And it's the same thing on the 48 as it is on the 43X. I'm not sure why that is. Maybe you guys know. And if you do, comment down below. Now, obviously, this is the 43X frame. I know what you're saying. Wow, that's innovative. Obviously, it's not. It is basically the 40, or I should say it's basically the 48. I mean, you can basically run this slide on this, and it's the same gun. So there's really nothing innovative about the actual grip, with the exception that it's an extended grip that accompanies the shorter slide. So basically what you have is you have a 43 with a polymer grip that is basically, I guess you could say, almost a full-size grip. So you can see where my pinky lays right there, and we're going to talk about that as well. It's kind of one of my pet peeves with this gun, as it is on the 48. Again, there's really not much to really tell about this slide. It is your, you know, I guess you could say your typical standard slide. There's nothing here. Your dual recoil captured guide rod and spring, and you know, your barrel. So is there anything really innovative about the gun? Not really. I mean, it's a Glock. It doesn't necessarily have to innovate in order to sell. Now, obviously, put the gun back together. Let's do that right now. And by the way, the guns are clear. But, you know, this gun was kind of a weird choice for me because I have the 48. And even though I like the 48 quite a bit, I've not been sold on it. I mean, I like it a lot, but it's just something about this gun I just have not fallen in love with. Now, the Shield 2.0 4-inch, absolutely love that gun. It's fantastic. This gun is just as good. I couldn't really even tell which one would be the superior gun because they're just so close to each other in regards to which one was better. Again, if you haven't seen that video, check it out. Now, with the 43X, the reason why I wanted to get my hands on one of these very badly was a simple fact that I have the 19X. And when this gun first came out, I said I wouldn't get one because I thought it was stupid, the short slide, long grip. And turns out that I'm an idiot. What a surprise, because this gun is my favorite Glock of all time. Reason being, this long grip, this short slide equals a very, very balanced, very, very controllable handgun. And it is absolutely a pleasure to shoot. It even feels very ergonomic. I know that's kind of a hard thing to understand, especially when you're dealing with a Glock. But nonetheless, this gun has been awesome. Total keeper in the collection that I have. Now, with the 43X, one of the interesting things about the 43X is that it really does resemble quite a bit the 19X. Now, obviously, it's a lot smaller. I would actually call this the mini-me to the 19X. But the 43X, it has that same feel. Now, obviously, it's a lot smaller, so as you can see where my thumb goes, it is very close, but obviously not that close, you know, where I'm going to blow it off. But at the same time, it feels very balanced in my hand. Now, ultimately, how does the gun shoot? Well, we're going to take a look at some video that I shot at the range so that you guys can actually see how this gun actually performed. I have to say, for me, I was overall impressed with the gun and its function. There were no issues with the gun at all. The recoil that I felt, while it was definitely snappier than, let's say, the 48 or even the Shield 2.0 4-inch, for obvious reasons, less weight, shorter muzzle, blah, blah, blah. I have to tell you that this actually did very well. And I would say that because of this long grip and the short slide, even though that you would feel more recoil, it wasn't so, I guess you can say, bothersome. Now, was there definitely a little bit of snappiness to it? Sure. Absolutely. But was it anything that would make you say, boy, this gun is too snappy for me to control, I'm going to get rid of it? I don't necessarily think that. I think obviously if it was a shorter grip and obviously that shorter slide, you'd have a little more trouble, but ultimately I think it is a fantastic shooting handgun. Now, some of the things about the trigger, guys, you know, it's a Glock trigger. How many videos are we going to make about how terrible these triggers are? Some people say they're great. Some people say I won't change the trigger. And that's fine. That's totally up to you. However, the one thing I hate about this trigger, and I've said it a million times, is I can't stand the trigger shoe. And the simple reason is because of that little blade there, that safety blade in the actual shoe. It doesn't recess enough. Plus, you've got this serrated trigger here. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, after shooting a couple hundred rounds, this thing just digs into my finger. As a matter of fact, I'll hold my finger right there for a couple of seconds, and then let's see what happens. Oh, look at that. And, you know, imagine that after about 400 rounds. It definitely doesn't feel that great. Again, though, in a real situation, who the hell is going to be shooting 400 rounds at one single time? What are you going to do? Be carrying 40 mags with you to, you know, protect yourself? I don't think that's ever going to happen. But in an extended range day, you know, I did put this through several hundred rounds like I would any other gun. This is not my ideal way to do that, but at the same time, you want to make sure it runs properly. I mean, ultimately, it felt fine. Ultimately, the trigger, while it was a little bit bothersome to my index finger, it's not anything that necessarily needs to be upgraded, in my opinion. I think it is a very standard trigger on a Glock. Now, in regards to the poundage of the trigger, let's put my Lyman gauge, and let's see what I get up here with. So it's about 5 pounds, 15.3 ounces. So very, very close to 6 pounds. So it's a bit of a heavy trigger. Now, again, it is a carry gun. You don't necessarily need a super light trigger, but 6 pounds is a little bit heavier than I would like. And again, if you want to, you can switch some components inside. But the only thing I'm going to actually be switching on this gun is the shoe. So this is my little purple Apex Flatty, which I can't wait to get on this gun. Now, obviously, the stock sights on here, well, guess what? I'd be remiss if I didn't mention how much these sights suck. Again, it isn't because they're non-usable. It's just because they're plastic. You know, even if these were made out of steel, I don't think they would be that bad, but I'm just not a fan of the plastic. So these are going to go too as well. And I'm actually going to be throwing these bad boys on here. I can't wait to put these on here. That's the that yellowish green color. So I finally got a set of those, so I'm kind of excited about that. Now, ultimately, if I was going to choose between, you know, let's say the 48, the 43X, and the long slide from from Smith, I would tell you that they all have a purpose. They all have somebody who's going to like them. There are plenty of people out there that love the 48. Look, I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this gun yet. I'm not sure if it's a keeper. I'm not sure if I'm going to get rid of it. But I am going to say to you that I definitely like the way this 43X feels a little bit better. And just to simply put it is, it's just because it just feels slightly more balanced than the 48. Again, 48 is a great gun. 43X is a good gun. And of course, the Shield is a good gun as well. But for me, it is really just the way this balance feels in my hand. And I have to say, again, after shooting it, it's just been really enjoyable to shoot this gun. So let's go to the range. Let's take a look at what I did that day. And you'll hear some commentary. And then I'll say bye to everybody. So stay tuned and let's go to the range. Okay, so here we are at the range. And you can see I put the gun always in front of the camera so I know what I'm shooting when I go back and edit these videos. So what you're going to see here is 3 different, I guess you could say, rounds of 20 rounds per, anywhere from 18 to 20. I was having some difficulty fitting in the 10th round in both these magazines. But again, I have to say that the overall shooting experience, like I said, was very good. It was not an uncontrollable handgun, even though the size of it is a lot smaller than, let's say, the 48 or even the Shield. But overall, the gun handled very well. You can see that I have one flyer. Again, it is into the chest area, so it's not like it's off the actual silhouette of the target. I was doing a lot of pulling to the left. Again, mostly me, probably. Definitely not the gun. Could be the trigger. Who knows? But at the same time, the groupings are somewhat tight. Again, this is a headshot target. You know, I don't like shooting necessarily to the center mass. I usually turn them upside down to do that also, just because I'm a little bit taller, and the way these targets lay on the actual backing, it seems to be a little too short for me. But at the same time, overall, the gun shot really well. Like I said, super controllable. And that's something that I have to say I was a little surprised about, because I actually thought that this gun was not going to handle as well as it did. I was a little concerned that it'd be a little bit too snappy. And at the same time, I thought it would, be something that I wouldn't enjoy as much. Again, as you can see, all the targets are within the black. There are none in the white, which is always a good thing. And this is going to be my final round of shooting this gun, at least for the video and its purposes for today. But at the end of the day, my overall impressions of this gun were actually very positive. Again, when I compare this to the 48, I have to say that the 43X just seems to fit a little bit better. It feels a little bit overall in regards to the balance of the gun. It just feels better. And ultimately, because it carries those 10 rounds, just like the 48, I actually found maybe there's more of an advantage for the 43X. And as you can see, I hit my camera with the casing. But overall, very good day at the range with this gun. I really enjoyed it, and I really think if you're looking for a nice single stack with 10 round capacity, this probably would be a good choice for you. All right, guys, so let's do an overview of this gun. So the 43X, in my opinion, is definitely worth a look at. I think if you're looking for a single stack handgun, and you're a cross between a 48 or a shield or a 4-inch shield or whatever it is that you're looking for, the 43X definitely deserves to be looked at. Now again, it's going to be dependent upon you. If you're one of those people that wants maximum capacity and you want more than 10 rounds, then this obviously is not the gun for you. Again, I've heard some things that maybe somebody's creating an extended magazine or whatever it might be, but at the same time, you know, I've been very pleased with this gun. I have nothing to say that's really overly negative about the 43X. Now, of course, there are some simple things that I do want to change on this handgun, like the trigger shoe has to go for me. The sights are definitely going to go as well, and I've got to clean this gun up a little bit. And I'm not so sure on the silver slide, but overall, the gun is a performer. It does really well. It did well for me that day, and I would highly recommend if you're looking for something that's very easy to conceal and also very comfortable to shoot, the 43X definitely deserves your time. So I'd love to hear what your choices are at the bottom of the page in the comment section. Again, tell me what you would choose. What single stack are you looking for? Are you going to be getting that P365, whether it's the small one or the extended slide version? You know, what are your real thoughts about the 43X? Is it worth it or is it not? I'd love to hear what you have to say. So I hope you guys have a great night. Stay safe. And as always, freedom is never free.